118 years ago, the Springboks played Wales for the first time in rugby union, and here we are today playing them, or seeing them play against each other again at Twickenham in London. This was the first game of the Springboks summer series, and they'll go on to play Ireland over the next couple of weeks, which everybody is anticipating a huge challenge for both teams. And Wales are going to head down under to Australia to take on the Wallabies under Joe Schmidts for a two-test match series down there. But today all eyes were on Twickenham to see how the Springboks would go with this slightly changed team, and how Wales Young Guns would go against the world champions of the Springboks. So let's get into the game and talk about what actually happened. G'day everyone, and welcome to Inside Rugby with Mark. If you haven't been here before, my name is Mark. I'm a Kiwi rugby fan who's living in beautiful Cancun in Mexico. Hurricane season here, and we just have our first lashing over the last couple of days, but it lets me sit inside and watch a lot of rugby, which is a great thing. So in today's video I'm going to be talking about the game that was played today between the Springboks and Wales at Twickenham, and boy, what a game it was as well. Now, the game got underway in front of a fairly healthy crowd, I thought, in the stadium. We've got to take into account that also today was the URC Championship final game between the Bulls and Glasgow Warriors that was being played down there in Pretoria in South Africa. Now, if you want to find out what happened in that game and listen to my review, check out the video I'm going to be making on that one tomorrow. But in this game, we're anticipating a great game of rugby between Wales and the Springboks, and I was looking in particular towards seeing some of the players that I haven't watched too much in the Springboks team getting their opportunity in the green jersey. Now, don't forget to leave your comments about this video today at the end of the video, because I'd really like to hear your views on what you thought of this game between South Africa and Wales. Listen to my review. I'd like to know whether you agree or disagree on some of the things that I've said. I read all the comments, so make sure you take the time to put something down, whatever you're feeling about this particular game. And Peter Steph du Toit was actually the captain of the Springboks today. We didn't have to wait long before the action got underway, and before we knew it, there were some opportunities for the Springboks to go on the board. Jordan Hendrickse got an opportunity to show his kicking talent. Unfortunately, he missed that first opportunity after 3 minutes of the game, so the scoreboard stayed at 0-0. But we didn't have to wait too long before things started to go as far as the scoreboard goes, and it was a try for the Springboks after just 5 minutes of the game. It was a great piece of work down the left-hand side of the field. The ball came out to Mapimpi, he passed it on to Jesse Creel, and Creel went over for the Springboks in a very, very good try indeed. Hendrickse found his kicking boots, and before we knew it, the Springboks were out to 7 points to 0. Now, prior to that try being scored, we saw the Springboks going through a several number of phases of play. They looked very dangerous, and they looked like their intent was there to run the ball a lot today. And of course, they had some exciting players in this team that we're going to keep an eye on. One of them for me was Rassie at fullback. I was really interested to see how he was going to go in this game. So after the Springboks scored that early try, it's going to be important to see whether or not Wales could keep with them in this game. And a couple of minutes later, they got a penalty opportunity, which Sam Costello came up and got over for Wales. So after 8 minutes of the game, the score was back to 7 points to 3 in favour of the Springboks. Now, just after the restart from that penalty for Wales, I was really interested to see the first scrum of the game, and I was expecting the Springbok scrum dominance to show in this early stages of the game, and that's exactly what happened. They really pushed the Welsh pack around, and I'm sure that Warren Gatland, sitting up in the stand, the coach of Wales, was going to be rather concerned to see this happening so early in the game. But it was a great scrum opportunity, particularly from a technical point of view for the Springboks. They really put it to the Welsh team, and in the 11th minute of the game, we saw Evan Roos for the Springboks go stampeding up the field. He got through pretty lame Welsh defence, I must say. and he got very close to the line. In fact, there was a couple of Welsh players back who were stopping him from getting over the line. One of those was Rio Dyer, and unfortunately he was intentionally offside, so he got to see the yellow card. So after 11 minutes, Wales were down to 14 men and Springboks were hard on attack. 14 minutes into the game and things went from bad to worse for the Welsh team, because the Springboks went back onto attack again, and they ended up getting a penalty try. And in addition to that, Wales saw their second player of the game go off with a yellow card. Aaron Wainwright was deemed to be infringing in an offside and deliberate fashion, and the referee decided that he needed to go to sit down with Rio Dyer. So Wales were in all sorts of trouble early on in this game. After just 16 minutes of the game, the Springboks were putting points on the scoreboard and they were putting Welsh players on the bench. That wasn't a good thing for Wales at all. So the Springboks headed out to 14 points to 3, and a couple of minutes later Sam Costello got another opportunity for a penalty kick for Wales. Unfortunately he missed that particular kick, and there was no change to the scoreboard. Now we got through to the 20-minute mark of the first half, and we saw the first of the 2 Welsh players that were sent off with a yellow card come back on. That was Rio Dyer, and fortunately for Wales, South Africa had not put any more points on the board since Dyer had left the field. Now, up until this stage of the game, the Welsh team were trying quite a lot of kicking, high balls, and Rassie at fullback for the Springboks was very good under the high ball. In fact, I've got to say I was really impressed with his temperament in the way that he went up and caught the high ball and secured it for the next phase of play. Was doing an outstanding job early on in the game. Now for the next 10 minutes of the game, it was a bit seesawing, and the Springboks, although they were hoping and intending to play an open game, it was obvious that what they were trying to do, there was a little bit of rust hanging in their system, I think, and also I guess with a few new players coming into this team, there was a little bit of coordination that needed to be gained under a particular match circumstances. All very well doing these things in training, but putting them out there on the field during a live game takes a little bit of time of getting used to, and this was one of the things that I was witnessing with the Springboks as the half continued. They were just dropping balls at the odd time, they were getting a little few discipline issues, and I'm sure Rassie was sitting up in the stands thinking, yeah, this is just typical of first hit out, and we've got to expect some of these things to happen. However, we got to the 30th minute mark, and I was talking about how great Rassie was under the high ball. He went up for another high ball kick, and unfortunately his foot got into the face and the head of one of the Welsh players, and the referee decided to have a look at this. It was deemed to be dangerous, and Rassie was actually sent off with a yellow card. So within 30 minutes of this game starting, we had 3 people sending off with yellow cards. I thought it was a bit rough on Rassie for this particular play, because when you're going up for a high ball like that and you're jumping up in the air, you're not really too worried about the person that's coming towards you. You're just trying to look after catching the ball as your first priority, and then secondly getting down to the ground safely. And you could see that he was off balance and his legs were fraying up in the air. There was no intent whatsoever to go for the head of the Welsh player, I thought. However, the referee deemed it to be dangerous, and he was sent off the field for 10 minutes. So there was down to 14 men to Springboks, and when Wainwright came back on, the Welsh had a full complement once again. And then just a minute later we saw Wales actually motivated in this game, and they actually got a couple of good series of rolling mauls going towards the goal line of the Springboks, and it was a good pick and go by the forwards from Wales. I thought they were doing an excellent job, and in fact they got close enough and Darwy Lake went over for a good try. So Wales were back on the scoreboard. Costello got the conversion over, and after 32 minutes of the game we had the Springboks winning. We had the Springboks in the lead, I should say, by 14 points to 10. And then from the restart we saw a bit of a rookie error from Jordan Hendrickse, the number 10 for the Springboks today. He kicked the ball out on the full, gave Wales the opportunity to come back and get territory and position, and they used that really well. They went down into the Springboks half, they got awarded another penalty opportunity, and Sam Costello came up and actually got that one over. So just before half time we were back to 14 points to 13, 1 point in this game. And I bet if you asked anybody before this game started whether the Wales would be within 1 point of the Springboks at half time, I don't think many people would have made that prediction. I certainly didn't, that's for sure. I think as far as half-time talks go from Rassie, I thought he would have probably told his troops to try and just tighten up a little bit, get that ball into hand. There was a few error passes going. I think the judgment around the play and what they were trying to do was pretty much spot on. They looked dangerous intentionally when they had the ball. Jesse Creel was playing really well in the midfield, and they looked like they could bust the line at any time. So I was expecting them to do a lot more of that in the second half. So I think Rassie would have said, look boys, just keep doing what you're doing, but cut out the errors, and I think this game will come to you in the second half. I'm pretty much sure that's what Rassie would have said to the team. So a few of the players that stood out for me for Wales in that first half was Sam Costello. Started off a little bit sketchy. I'm not a big fan of Costello if you watched my videos before, but he did come right. He got a couple of kicks over and he did a couple of good things in the remainder of that first half, so I forgive him for his mistakes today. We saw Grady doing a couple of good defensive things and a couple of good offensive things in that first half, and I think putting him in at inside centre in this game from Gatland was a genius move. I think he's a really good player in there. He's got a lot of energy, he's got a lot of pace, and he can really break the line, so he was playing well in there as well. Then we saw Bevan at halfback. He was having an okay game, I thought. It's his first game out for the Welsh in that halfback jersey, and I think as he gets more and more experience, which is exactly why Warren Gatland is putting these guys in the team against the world champions, is to gain that experience at international test level, at this kind of level, and I think we'll see him grow more and more into that position. Rio Dial played well when he was on the field, despite that 10 minutes off for the yellow card, and I thought Winnett at fullback was doing his normal good thing. Liam Williams on the wing was doing some good defensive work as well in this game, and when he did get the ball on a couple of occasions in space, he was using it well and turning the ball over for his team. So Wales weren't too far away in this first half. I just thought the Springboks looked more dangerous, but anything could happen in the second half, so let's find out exactly what did happen. Well, what did happen was we didn't have to wait too long for some action in the second half, and it was in the second minute of the second half where the Springboks went down the left-hand side of the field. The ball was passed out to Mapimpi from Jesse Creel. I thought it was a definite forward pass, and Mapimpi went over to score a try that I thought was going to be recalled by the TMO and the referee, and nobody did anything. So surprise to me, and I think everybody at Twickenham in the afternoon was waiting for the referee to say, look, that was an obvious forward pass. But as we've seen in rugby across the years, sometimes you get away with it, and the Springboks definitely got away with it. A little bit of a shame for me, because it started off the second half by putting the Springboks on the front foot. I think if that was called back as it should have been, I think we might have seen a different perfection to this game as far as it starting and the way it did start in the second half. So this gave Springboks momentum immediately by putting them further out on the scoreboard, and I think it gave Wales a little bit of a deflated feeling as well. I think many of them thought the pass had gone forward on the way to Mapimpi. So it just shows how quickly rugby games can change, doesn't it? And what was a 1-point lead at half time a few minutes later was 21 points to 13, so the Springboks had really stepped out. And then 3 minutes later we saw a penalty opportunity for the Springboks. Jordan Hendricks got his kicking boots on finally, got that one over, and all of a sudden it was 24-13, and Wales really hadn't woken up from half time, so it's a little bit disappointing from them. One of the things I'm going to be looking at across the summer series this year is how many points teams are scoring in the second half of games. I think this is a hugely overlooked statistic in the world of international rugby. I think those teams that have got the capacity to score a lot of points in the second half usually go on and win test matches. So it was going to be interesting to see how many points both South Africa and Wales were going to put on in the second half as far as I was concerned. We got a little bit deeper into the half and more opportunities came up for the Springboks. And one of those opportunities came around the 53rd minute of the game, where the Springboks had put a number of different phases together, got really close to the Welsh line. In fact, they got over the Welsh line, but the referee decided that they had been held up over the line, so no try was given to them on that particular occasion. But it was a really good play by the Springboks, but I've got to say it was great defence by Wales as well, and they were able to hold the Springboks out on that particular occasion. A little bit further on in the game, around the 56th minute, we saw the Springboks on attack, and Wainwright came up with a fantastic tackle and got the steal and got the ball back from Wales, and that really motivates the team when you see a player doing that kind of work, and it was a great piece of play by Aaron Wainwright on that occasion. Then we saw a couple of changes happen on both teams. We saw Bevan going off for Wales, Davies coming on at halfback for them, and we saw Esterhazen going off for the Springboks, and we saw Damien Deolandi coming on. Of course, a two-time World Cup winner, Damien Deolandi. I can't ever get over how big this guy is for a centre, and he's absolutely massive. Then we got to the 58th minute of the game, and Wales putting some good pieces of play together again, mainly through their forwards. They didn't seem to have a lot of attacking prowess with their backs up until this stage of the game, although the Springboks defence was good at cutting them down. And one of the problems I've had with Sam Costello since I've been watching him play is that his game management from the first five position lacks a little bit of intelligence when it comes to what play to try and execute, and that was one of the problems I was seeing from Wales in this game. They weren't getting through that defensive line from the Springboks. So on the next occasion, it was an opportunity for the forwards to go once again, and again it was that man Dowie Lake that got over the line for the Welsh team. However, the TMO injected and the referee wanted to check. He didn't see a grounding, and we went through another delay while the TMO decided that finally it wasn't a try. So there was no try awarded to Wales on that particular attacking opportunity. Now, on the 60th minute mark, a player came onto the field for the Springboks that I'm really excited to watch. I haven't seen him play yet. This was the first opportunity. It was his debut in a Springbok jersey today, and to all my South African viewers, I'm going to apologise beforehand, because I'm going to call him Sasha Feinberg, because I know that I'm going to stumble over his last name, and I'm just going to make a joke of myself. So I'll call him Sasha Feinberg from now on, and you'll know exactly who I'm talking about. Anyway, Sasha came on, and I was really looking forward to the way that he was going to play in this game, and he started off absolutely brilliantly. Every time he touched the ball, he seemed to do everything very, very well. 61 minutes into the game, and it was that number 10 for Wales, Sam Costello, who made the next mistake in the game, and he had an opportunity from a penalty kick to go for the touchline, and he put it dead in goal. So a simple rookie error, and this is one of the things that frustrates me, and I'm sure Warren Gatland, about Sam Costello, is that these things that should be bread and butter for a good number 10 at this international level are silly little mistakes that cost their team dearly. They could have been down 5 metres out from the Springbok line on attack with a great opportunity to score a try. Instead, they hand the ball over to the Springboks. So these are the sorts of things that I think Wales really need to cut out of their game if they're going to compete with the best teams in the world. It's all about execution at this level, and you've got to get those things right. In the 65th minute, we saw Etzebeth go off, and he was substitute by Morat. And Etzebeth had a good game, wasn't outstanding, but he did some good things in the tight play that I was looking at. But he would have been good for the run, I think, and he'll be getting ready now for those clashes against Ireland back home in South Africa. A couple of minutes later, Sasha Feinberg got an opportunity to kick his first shot at goal. It wasn't an easy one. It was over halfway, so about 52 to 53 metres out. It was more or less in front, but it was a long way out, and he absolutely nailed it. It was a fantastic kick. In fact, it sailed over the dead ball line, so he probably would have got it if he was 60 or 65 metres away from the goalpost. So he'll remember that for the rest of his life, getting his first goal penalty kick for the Springboks at Twickenham in London. A magnificent kick from inside his own half. Good job, well done, young man. So that had put the Springboks out to 27 points to 13. At this stage of the game, Wales hadn't scored any points in the second half, as I had made mention to previously. It was going to be important for them to get on the board if they were going to come back into this game. The longer the game went on, the Springboks looked a little bit more comfortable, particularly around the defensive patterns they were putting in place, and Wales just weren't finding a way through the Springboks line. 3 minutes later, the Springboks were down on attack again, and it was just a matter of time before their forwards were going to find a way to get over the Welsh line, I was thinking, and that's exactly what happened from the base of a line-out maul. We saw Bonami go over and score a try, a fantastic try for the Springboks, showing their dominance up front, and that really put a seal on this game for me for the Springboks. So the try was scored, and Sasha got the conversion over, so the Springboks leapt out to 34 points to 13. And there was probably no way back in this one for Wales. A couple of minutes later, Warren Gatland thought of what I was thinking. He took Sam Costello off, and he put young Beetham on to give him a go for the last 10 minutes or so of this game. Very good move, I thought, because Beetham did a couple of good things as soon as he came on the field. 73rd minute of the game. Rassie up again in the air, getting another high ball take. I don't think he dropped one all day. If he did, put it in the comments and let me know, but I didn't see him drop one. He was absolutely rock solid under that high ball. So let's see whether he A, gets selected to play against Ireland, and B, whether Ireland start peppering him with high balls as well, because I don't think that's going to be a very good strategy. And then just a couple of minutes later, as the clock ticked down inside the last 10 minutes of this game, we saw Edwin van der Merwe take off through the middle of the Welsh defence. He cracked them open, and he had way too much speed for the Welsh defensive chasers, and he went straight down under the goalpost and scored a magnificent try on debut at the age of 28. So a fantastic moment in the rugby career of Edwin van der Merwe. This guy's got some serious pace, and hasn't the Springboks got a plethora of amazing talent on their wings? You've got Mapimpi, Kurtley Ardense, you've got Edwin van der Merwe, you've got Kanan Moody, and the list goes on. So it's scary to think how many amazing wingers and talent that the Springboks have to call on. But Edwin van der Merwe, fantastic try on debut for the Springboks at the age of 28. He went under the post and put the game out of sight as far as Wales was concerned. So the try made it 39 points to 13. Sasha got the conversion over, 41 points to 13. And that was going to be the final score of this particular game, the first for the Springboks in this summer series. So a really good game of rugby. I thought there was a little bit of rust there from both teams, and I think at half-time Warren Gatland would have been fairly happy. By the end of the game, I think he would have been really disappointed. No points at all to Wales in the second half, and that was a mixture of A, the Springboks defence stepping up and taking more territory and possession away from Wales, but it was also lack of creativity and being able to get through that Springboks defence, and that was a big play. I thought that was important in the second half. So I'm sure Gatland's going to take away many lessons from this particular game, or more importantly his players will, and they'll need to look at ways of breaking down defensive lines when they get down to Australia in a couple of weeks' time to take on the Wallabies. I'm sure Joe Schmidts is going to have a very good defensive pattern in place for the Wallabies, so the Welsh team are going to have to learn on how to get through that. So how would I rate this Springboks performance? Well, I thought those players that were on the fringe of the main squad who came into this game, and I'm talking about Rassie and Edwin van der Merwe, I think they played really, really well. I think Esterhuizen had a good game while he was on the field as well. But people like Damien Dealandi and Jesse Creel, those old stalwarts of the Springboks in that midfield, were absolutely brilliant and rock solid when they came on. We saw Dealandi doing a couple of really good things in defence in particular. So that bodes well for this team as they head forward. I think in terms of the wingers today, the Springboks were very, very good. They had a lot of pace out wide, and Mapimpi and also Edwin van der Merwe looked very, very dangerous. In the forwards, they did enough. They were a little bit rusty. We saw a few drop balls from the likes of Peter Steph-Toy, Quagga Smith, and a few of the others during the game, but I'm sure those things will come together, and by the time they run out for that first game against Ireland at Loftus Versfeld in a couple of weeks' time, I'm sure that Rassie's going to have this team really, really ready to go. The selection is going to be very interesting for me, because we're going to see those Bulls players become available, and we're going to see how that changes the makeup of this Springboks team. So what about Wales? Well, I think Warren Gatland's going to go away frustrated. As I said, half-time he would have been relatively happy that they were within 1 point of the Springboks, but to score no points in the second half and really not make a game of it in the second half, I think would have been very disappointing. I thought Darby Lake had a really good game for Wales, and I thought Wainwright, while he was on the field, except for that yellow card moment, played really well as well. I like Wainwright. I think he's a really good solid player, and he runs until the end of the game. And I think that's one thing Warren Gatland needs to be concerned about. His team needs to be able to go for 80 minutes. And when you turn the batteries off after 40 or 50 minutes in a game, then this is going to happen to you every time. And again, I cite the problem that they have coming up with the Wallabies. The Wallabies are going to go for 80 minutes. There's no doubt about it down there in Australia against this Welsh team. So they're going to have to make sure that they've got that momentum going through to that last quarter of the game. It's going to be very important if Wales expects to win one of those two games against the Wallabies. Mason Grady had a good game, I thought. I still question Mark Costello. I don't think he's the right guy for Wales in that number 10 jersey. I know a lot of people rate him, but all the games I've watched him play, there's too many errors in his game at this level, and people say, well, you've got to keep giving him experience and opportunity. Well, in my book, he's been given a lot of opportunity, and he keeps making these simple mistakes. But I guess in Wales it's a question mark of who else is there. Beetham could be a solution. He came on, as I said, in the last 10 minutes, did some good things, so I'd like to see him getting a little bit more of an opportunity. Cameron Winnett and Dyer and Williams at the back were good. They were solid, but they didn't get into the points. They didn't score tries, and that's what this Wales team needs from their backline. They need to get points on the board. So I think with Wales, it's another one of those cases where we say so often with the Welsh rugby team, glimmers of hope throughout the game, but at the end they didn't deliver on the particular day in terms of the overall performance. But let's not be too harsh. It was a stepping stone. Warren Gatland has a plan. Inexperienced players coming through, they've got to get this experience, take them to Australia, give them that experience, and just hope the Welsh fans put up with it for long enough, because obviously without winning too many games, the pressure's going to come on sooner or later with the head coach. So now we get ready for the Springboks to take on Ireland down there in South Africa in a couple of weeks. It's going to be hugely exciting. I'm going to be following those games right here on my channel. So if you're not already subscribed to the channel, hit that subscribe button today. Give this video a bit of a like and a thumbs up if you enjoy my content, and make sure you check back on the other videos. I've got plenty coming up this weekend with the Bulls versus Glasgow review, and also the Chiefs versus the Blues in Auckland, New Zealand, the final of the Super Rugby Pacific competition for 2024. Don't forget to leave me your comments on this game that we've just talked about below, and make sure you tell me what you think of both South Africa and Wales on their first hit out of this part of the season. I'd really like to. Okay folks, that's it for this particular video. I'll be back again soon with some more content. Until then, stay well, stay safe, keep enjoying your rugby no matter where you are in the world, and I'll see you again soon from beautiful Mexico. Until next time, it's time to say adios.